Welcome out to the Epically Geeky Show, episode number 133. I'm your host for the evening, Eugene Stevens. Tonight's opening question is, with the year 2020, would you rather redo or just skip to the end? Ray.
I've been struggling with this one because I'd really rather not live it again. But I don't want to skip it either, if you know what I mean. Like let's just, because I'm reminded of Click.
Good point.
So if you just keep skipping ahead, well, then you're all of a sudden you're at the end and there's no, right? So yep. Let's just go through it. It is what it is. Let's just try and get through it together.
There you go. That sounds like an excellent idea. Chris, how do you feel?
Very shortest answer.
Probably skip this motherfucker.
Well, a little bit. I mean, but it's hard because for us there's been good too out of this pandemic because we moved and we love our house and there's good stuff that's coming out too. So it's hard. I think me at the beginning of this would say fast forward. So I'll go with her. I'll go her March 16th, March 17th. Chris says fast forward. So gotcha. That's what I would say.
Before we moved.
Before all this, because we didn't know where we were going to live, and
nope.
Not everything.
Didn't have a clue.
No, and all the news was still really scary and fear-mongering, and I didn't know what to do with the kids and what was happening with school. So, yeah, a lot of crying. So I think she would like to fast forward.
I think she
through it all.
Yeah.
And,
gotcha.
Yeah.
This is hard for me too because, I mean. Hindsight being 2020, I almost want to say redo it just because I'd be like, oh, hey, I know we can get through this. Let me go ahead and just start stocking up on some stuff before people get stupid. That would kind of be the main thing. And then the other thing is I'd be able to go, okay, well, I have an idea of where things are going to go, at least up to this point. So stop trying to second guess everything and just ride the wave, as it were. Because honestly, that was one of my biggest things was, there was a lot of uncertainty and a lot of doubt about my job and everything that was going on. And I mean, I figured it was going to work out okay, but it was just like, it is what it is. I managed to get through it. And I'm pretty sure, granted, I'm sure my defenses are not at 100%, but I'm following what is being told to do, wearing a mask when I'm out and about, washing my hands, using plenty of hand sanitizer, all that stuff. And I have actually had a run-in with COVID and went through unscathed. So that being said, I'd almost want to say redo. The skip ahead, man, there's a lot of stuff coming up that's going on and just, I am trying to spend as much time as I can with my family and everything else. So I'm just like, at this point, I'd probably say redo just because, like I said, if hindsight being 2020, I could go, all right, well, I just need to go stock up on a few things beforehand and just try to relax as much as possible. So, it is what it is. Because we're living in a crazy time. So that being said, tonight's topic is, I saw a lot of, I saw some different things people posted online, things that were like, how you thought you were going to dress during the apocalypse. And it's like a picture from like Mad Max, and it's like how you actually dress. And it's like from The Big Lebowski, going to the grocery store in pajamas and stuff. So yeah, it's one of those interesting things. And it's like, I got to thinking about it. I was like, well, there's some movies that I'm like, there's no way, this is stupid. This is obviously, you have to swallow a lot of, BS in order to accept this world for what it is. But it's like, okay, well, that's the conceit for the movie. Whatever. Let's just get to, what the characters are doing and just go along with it. That being said, now that we are currently still living through a pandemic, there's some movies and books and TV shows and even video games that you're kind of like, I got to thinking about, I was like, wow, that's a lot more plausible now. In some ways, good thing, some ways, a bad thing. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're just going to kind of bring up different books, movies, TV shows, whatever it is, that maybe we look at a little different now that we've lived through or living through a pandemic. So, and you know what? We're also going to throw the social unrest in there as well. Not to dance around it, but I also don't want to take it lightly, and I don't want to go too deep into it. But there's a lot of social unrest going on right now in the United States, and I haven't been extremely vocal about it. Like I said, I'm also not going to make this my speaking place for it. But that being said, all I can say is just be safe. And please, please, please let there be a good outcome to this. There's definitely reform and change that needs to happen. And I hope we actually see it. And I have to say, unlike previous times where we've had looting and rioting and peaceful protesting and everything else, it seems like after a while it just kind of dies and nothing ever comes of it. There's something about it this time that makes me feel like there's enough here that we're actually going to see some positive change. And I really hope that's the case. So
I feel like this is our next step. We're finally taking the next step after the 60s, right? Where they finally got some movement there. I feel like I'm hopeful that this is where we're going to take our next step in the right direction. And yeah, we're like you said, we will be discussing this whole thing on a different show at a different time.
Yes.
But yeah.
And actually, let me just announce that, because I'm assuming if you listen to this show, you probably listen to some of the other shows and vice versa. The coming episode of Marginally Geeky, we were going to read the third and final book in the Aftermath, Star Wars Aftermath trilogy, Star Wars Aftermath Empire's End. We were going to postpone that for a month because of everything that's going on, and we are actually going to be reading How to Be Anti-Racist. So that's going to be our next book. I don't think it's going to be a controversial episode by any means. I'm pretty sure everyone's in the same mindset. But that being said, it is definitely going to be more of a controversial book or whatever. And, I'll probably announce that here in a couple of days that, hey, by the way, we're changing things up a little bit. So, that's not the first time that we've changed books or anything at midstream, but, it is what it is. So, all right. So that being said, would anyone like to mention a book, series, anything? It could even just be an ideology, that's run, in several different movies or whatever. What is something now, living through what we've lived through, that originally you were just like, maybe not, and now you're like, oh no, I totally see that shit happening.
Okay, so this one, I'm gonna step in first because this is immediately what I thought of, especially with the current regime that's in power down there.
Okay.
In the scene Outbreak, or in Outbreak, to stop the pandemic from spreading, the government approves nuking a town. I never thought that would be plausible because, seriously, that just sounds stupid. But I can completely see it happening with the current regime and with everything going on. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's definitely plausible now.
I almost was coming down on it in the opposite light, in that I don't know, because here's the thing. Here's why I see it just being the opposite. I understand, especially with what the current administration has done, wanting to call the military in for the civil unrest. But the lackadaisical way in which they have handled the specific outbreak, I'm like, no, they would never think of this, because by that time it'd be way too fucking late. It would be a town. It'd be like, all right, we have to nuke North Carolina, just the whole fucking state, because we've let it get that far out of hand. So, but no, I can definitely, I see where you're coming from. That's horrible.
Isn't it though?
It is. It's horrible, but I see it now. Oh.
I could see like, all right, here are your options, right, from The Simpsons. Here's your options.
Yes.
I picked number 3.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, you know what? Let's just go ahead and focus a little bit on Outbreak. Okay, so in the movie Outbreak, Christy had never seen it, by the way. Like we watched it just like maybe a month ago, and I don't remember what it was on. I think it was on Netflix, and I was just like, "Oh, sweet, Outbreak. We probably shouldn't watch this right now." She goes, "I've never seen it." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, hell no!" And of course, we start watching it, and the credits start at the beginning of the movie, and she's like, "Oh my god, this person! Oh my god, they're in there! Oh my god, that person!" And I'm like, "Yes, like this was a blockbuster when it came out."
Yep.
So, but yeah, in the movie Outbreak, it's just like, I thought, well, there's a lot of things that would just happen to kind of fly under the radar and go wrong for us to not, for something like this to happen. And seeing how things have panned out here with COVID-19, I'm like, nope, this shit literally happened. Now, granted, I think was it Mutabu is what they were calling it?
Yeah.
Virus?
It killed at a much higher rate.
Yeah, and it was like immediate. That was the other thing. It was like, it wasn't like, oh, well, you might have the symptoms. It was like, oh no, you got it, and 3 hours later you're dead.
Depending on, because I think that was after it mutated. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first strain, it took a couple of days, and then the second strain was a much quicker. And that was the thing is they had the cure for the first strain, and they didn't release it because they were like, no, and then they tried it after the fact. I was like, shit, it mutated.
Uh-huh.
So, but it was an interesting, watching it back now. There's some interesting parts on there where it's like, yeah, that's plausible.
Yeah, and very scary. Like I said, the some of the things about how the administration took care of things or didn't take care of things. Like I said, some of it very. Have either of y'all seen Unstoppable? I think is what it's called.
With the train?
With the train, yes, in Denzel Washington.
Yes, yeah.
It's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
I watched that movie, and the whole time I thought, man, like this had to have been a perfect storm of fuck ups for things to happen. And then to find out, oh no, it's based on a real story, and all of that shit actually happened. I'm just like, damn, that's scary shit.
Yeah.
So
I remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's based on a true story.
Yeah, so I kind of feel the same way about virus stuff as I do about that movie now. Because like I said, at first I was like, oh man, that's crazy that just everything happened to line up just right. And I'm like, nope, shit could totally do that.
Yep. Yeah.
So, well, Chris, is there something you wanted to bring up? Specific movie or specific book or?
Well, I was just looking at the ones that I sort of highlighted, and they all kind of have the theme of human race just sort of, instead of dealing with the problems, just adding more stuff to just get through it and sort of live in a disillusioned world where, no, everything's fine. World is not completely, totally falling apart. We're totally fine. So one of them was Ready Player One.
Oh.
So instead of just trying to fix their problems, they're just totally ignoring them and then living in a fantasy world. And I can see that now happening with people just wanting to, okay, I'm done. Whatever is happening outside, I don't want to deal with it anymore. And just absorbing themselves with online content.
That makes sense.
That's a very poignant idea. I didn't even think about that.
Sometimes I have good thoughts.
Because I mean, you're right. Like, I mean, I don't want to. I'm not trying to tiptoe around everything that's going on right now. But yes, it is very much of, there are people out there who are definitely fighting tooth and nail and doing everything they can to throw as much information as they can out there. Yeah. And then some people are just like, I can't handle this. Now, the idea that it would be a large enough people for that to happen, but then again, like the things have been going on with COVID. It's just like, especially if I mean, granted, in the book, that wasn't the trigger. It was more so just like people were getting laid off and, the economies were going to crap. We had basically destroyed, the planet. But in either case, you have people sitting around at home doing nothing.
Yeah, because it's
working from home.
Working from home, or just they're stuck at home and there's literally nothing. They don't have. Maybe they don't feel like they have. Because I can get like this where I just feel powerless. So I'd rather just stay in my own little bubble and just pretend that nothing exists because it's like a safe place to be. So that movie sort of is like, well, yeah, that kind of makes sense because, after the corn wars and something else happened and then a bunch of the population died off, and the world was just, they destroyed it, so it's just slowly dying. So let's just party till this is over because life sucks outside.
Yeah.
So it's just because we've talked to a couple of our friends and they're just like, at the beginning I was okay because we didn't know.
They were stressed out at the very beginning because they had to go to work, and then they felt okay that now I'm at home, now I'm safe, now I'm okay, I'm gonna relax, and now they're like, okay, I need to do something else because I'm done being by myself.
Or I'm done just with
or done with the whole thing.
Because instead of work being a contained 8 hours, 5 days a week, now it is stretched out to like 16 hours a day.
Yeah,
and I don't get to leave my house because this is my workplace, and so it's just.
So work and play have kind of blended together in the way of like, okay, yeah, I can be at home and watching Netflix, but I'm also. I'm answering emails because I'm on the computer anyway. Well, this automatically popped up. I might as well just get to this now.
Yeah.
So it's blurred and it's starting to get exhausting for them. Yeah. So they're just done. They're done.
I understand that completely. An offer came up where I could feasibly work. Now I only get off 3 weeks. Some people. I don't get any time off. Shut the fuck up. But I get off 3 weeks. I used to get off a lot more time, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, an opportunity came up where I could work summer school, and it would be additional pay, but I would still once again be working from home. And I was having exactly what you were talking. Like, it was so draining trying to do all the stuff at home and then do all the stuff for work at the same time. There was no cutoff. It all blended together. And so I'm really looking forward to here in the next 3 weeks of literally just doing whatever I want. Like, I don't I get up, take care of the house, make sure the boys have lunch and stuff like that. But other than that, I can do whatever I want and I don't have to keep checking my email and doing all that, online stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I definitely understand that. So, well, the first thing I wanted to bring up was, and this is of course the most extreme version of a virus, essentially, and that is zombies. So, and I specifically listed three different movies or three different things to kind of go to. In Night of the Living Dead, of course, it happens very, very fast. Like, it's literally overnight. All of a sudden, zombies. But like a lot of the things in some of the movies, it's like, well, there's, zombies coming out, or like, let's take Shaun of the Dead, for example. Like, there's signs of it happening kind of, but no one's really kind of paying attention until all of a sudden it just like hits and then it's already too late at that point. And it's one of those things I'm like, well, surely people would be more vigilant than that. Like, surely we've got to be more vigilant than that. But no, like, now granted, this is a different type of thing where you could feasibly be walking around with COVID and not know. And apparently from some of the newer things that are coming out, like, have it and not even be passing it to anyone. Like, you're literally just have it and like it dies with you essentially, which is good news. But still, it's like, it's not like zombieism. It's not like, oh, well, you're definitely going to die and you're definitely going to eat, everyone around you. So, we have to keep that in mind. But the idea that we would just kind of be like, meh, whatever. It's fine. We'll take it serious when it needs to become serious. And then it just all of a sudden like overruns us is, it's kind of scary.
That's why like 28 days later.
Yes.
because yeah, I could imagine waking up in a hospital and everybody's gone, which
Uh-huh.
is not far off from what some people are seeing, right?
Uh-huh.
People that are in a hospital and they're not getting visitors anymore, and they're not getting, and that's kind of how it would start.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're just kind of walking around, and that's why I love that opening scene with him where he wakes up and the hospital is empty, and what the hell's going on? So yeah,
Also, the way Walking Dead started, waking up in the hospital and it's just like, where the fuck am I and what's going on? Yeah. Um. So yeah, zombie movies. That was kind of one of the biggest concedes to me. Was always the idea that we were going, we would not let this get to that point, and unfortunately that's happened. And listening to I was actually just listening to a podcast today with a guy who has written several books on virology, and specifically the different influenzas that's happened. And one of the reasons why we compare this virus to, even though it's not a flu, we compare it more to um, Spanish flu than we do Asian flu, which happened in like 57 and 62. Is because that one was not, there were still 100,000 people that died, but it was nowhere near as, it didn't spread as easily, and it didn't, it wasn't as deadly. So that's why it was more, but it's just like, that shit happened not that long ago. And it's crazy. And one of the questions that was interesting that they brought up, talking to the guy, was, he's like, I've done research. He's like, I could have missed it. He said, he's like, I cover politics. He's like, so, I'm going way out of my field here trying to do research. That's why I get professionals in here. But he was like, the idea of, social distancing has been around, but we never called it, and it was never really a thing. And the guy's like, well, technically speaking, the real idea of social distancing didn't really happen until after the bird flu, and they thought it might help, but then when they after bird flu, we figured out, oh, this is actually something we can do to combat it. So the real idea of social distancing really hasn't been around for more than about a decade, and that's why we haven't seen it or whatever. But yeah, it's one of those things. I'm just like, when I see these see a movie about zombies or whatever, now I'm just gonna be like, oh, okay, yeah, I can kind of see that going. Did either of y'all either read World War Z?
No.
I haven't read it. No.
It is a fantastic book, but it talks about how in the book the zombie plague started in China, and China was very careful to try to hide it as long as possible. Which unfortunately they've been blamed about on COVID as well, but they're kind of still out on that. But then, yeah, it talks about one of the problems was, the idea of, it took so long for people to come around to the idea of the dead literally eating us, like coming back and eating us. That was such a hard idea. And then all of a sudden there was this turn. And I specifically remember, like, in the early days of COVID, it was like, well, there's no way we're going to shut down. There's no way this is going to happen. And then all of a sudden it's like, nope, this shit's happening. Like, get your supplies. You're staying inside. So
I still remember the road. I don't remember what it was that they had just canceled. But I think it was a big Comic-Con or something like that. We were driving home, and because we were still talking about going to Florida for our trip, and we were still doing that, and we're driving home, and we heard that this actually was, whatever it was getting canceled. And we kind of looked at each other. It was like, yeah, we're not going to Florida.
Yeah.
Like, it's so pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it, for me, the big turn was when they literally, because we were just going on summer break or spring break, and it was like, well, surely we'll be back on Monday. But then all of a sudden it was just like, nope, we will be gone. And unfortunately, in the very beginning, it was very much week to week. It was like, well, we're not going back this week. Maybe the next week. We're like, all right, cool. We get 2 weeks off of summer school. Yay. Our spring break. And then it was like, nope, not going back in. Nope, not going back to the end of the month. It's just like, oh shit, this is real. So, but yeah, I mean, the idea of it sneaking up on you, just kind of, heaven forbid we have something really, really outrageous break out. Because I mean, that was the other thing was, they were talking about, they're like, we didn't have anywhere near the world travel that we have now. So, used to it was like, granted, communication also wasn't as good as well, but it's just like, if something super dangerous were to break out and we weren't just absolutely immediately informed about it and immediately took steps, like it wouldn't take any time at all for it just to go everywhere, and it'd be scary shit. So, not that COVID wasn't that scary at times. So, all right, Ray, what's something else that you've kind of been thinking about that maybe looks a little different after or now?
So I love this movie. It's been one that I've been watching since I was a teen, and I really enjoyed it. And I always thought certain things were a little funny in the movie. As soon as I start mentioning them, you'll start figuring it out. But can we please invent the 3 seashells? Because fuck. So, Demolition.
On my list too.
Yeah, Demolition Man. The reason why they don't give high fives isn't because it's violent, it's because it doesn't spread shit.
Uh-huh.
They don't have sex it's because it doesn't spread shit. That's social distancing. Social distancing was introduced and they just took it to another degree. And so somewhere in that world, after they freeze Sylvester Stallone, they've had a pandemic and all of these got introduced and they are now just part of the culture. And that's why they do the high fives that don't touch, and that's why they do. So I'm saying that's.
I didn't think about that.
Yep.
I forgot that part.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I would be okay with some of the stuff. Like, granted, I've only got a couple people I kind of fist bump, but I would be completely okay. So, like, when I had to go to work for this thing that we were doing to help with graduation, walking around with my mask on. And 2 of my fellow techs walk up. They're both wearing their mask as well. And now, mind you, they're both black guys. But literally, they're like, "What's up, Gene?" I am totally, for those of you who listen to audio, I just did the Wakanda Forever. Dude, I'm down with that. Like, if we want to replace handshakes with that, I'm down for that. That's awesome. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I got to thinking about it today. Like, yes, wearing a mask is still annoying. Mm-hmm. But, like, I don't, granted, all those people seem to have shut up after, all the social injustice outbreaks. But, because it's like, really? People are dying and you're complaining about wearing a mask. Fuck you. But, like, yeah, wearing a mask all the time is not the most comfortable thing. But, like, I've gotten used to it. Like, it's like, okay, I get in the car. I have my routine. I got my mask sitting here. When I pull up to the grocery store, if I have to go in for something, the mask comes on. I go in, I do my shopping, come back out, start the car, put on hand sanitizer, take the mask off. It's normal now.
Yeah, so we do.
So, and we've got the same routine. And I was actually thinking about it. So my mask hangs on the shifter. Mm-hmm. So it's just there. And I'm thinking in my head, that's actually going to be something included in these next models. If this keeps going, mm-hmm. They'll have a mask spot in your dash. They'll have a spot for hand sanitizer to be put in. Like, this could fundamentally change the way that we even drive. Like, it's maybe not so much the driving, but how the cars look on the inside.
The hand sanitizer, I'm like, that's not a bad idea. But then again, I don't know if y'all saw that thing. Now, granted, I'm sure it was a 1 in a million shot where the hand sanitizer overheated and caught fire or whatever. Yeah. But still, like, that's like, because I mean, the thing you pushed in for lighters, for smokers, that was the big thing. I could see now. You're absolutely right. Maybe in the future it's a specific box that you can fill with hand sanitizer and. It's shielded so it doesn't get as hot as the rest of the cabin, and
the AC goes through it or something, right?
Or like something, yeah.
Or it's a compressed one or something where, mm-hmm. And then you just top it up when you top up your windshield fluid.
Yep. That's crazy, but I kind of really like that idea, to be honest with you. So. It's funny. Like my brother was saying, he runs this strength and conditioning camp, and like half of it is done virtually, and the other half is done in person. And he's like, I've got this big bottle. He was telling my partner and I this. He's like, I got this big bottle of hand sanitizer. And he's like, most of the women that come up and do this workout or whatever, he's like, they never touch it. And at first my partner was like, well, why is that? He goes, because they all have their routines. They are already programmed to go to their car and immediately pull out their hand sanitizer that they've probably had in their car way before all the shit started and use that. So I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So
I don't like some of the ones that are provided by stores because they just smell horrible to me. Like it's almost like they're
rotten a little bit.
Yeah, like they've gone bad or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's why I use our own.
Yeah.
So
we've got 2 bottles in the car.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it said, that's actually a really the thought of the 3 shells. And of course, that meme was running around so much whenever toilet paper was so hard to find for a while there.
Just give me the 3 shells already.
Yeah.
Then.
At this point, just something. Come on.
I want to know how they work. Honestly,
I have a feeling it's a bidet.
Probably.
It doesn't say that, but yes. I'm guessing it's a bidet.
See, bidets are.
Oh, they are a thing.
Yep. And I'm sure like a bunch of other stuff, they like all of a sudden that market like just spiked.
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah.
So, well, Chris, what's something else you want to bring up?
Oh, pardon me. Boo.
Sorry, the cat had me up very early. It's one of my favorite movies, and it's more just a call to, because when it first came out, it was so WALL-E. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So it's humans have left because we've turned the earth into a garbage dump. So we're just going to magically solve our problems and leave. And when the earth fixes itself, we'll come back. And that's kind of what we kind of have that mentality of like, because SpaceX has now happened, they've launched into space, and space exploration is sort of now
it's back on.
Yep.
It's like boots on the moon so that it can become a stop to Mars. So become like a pickup zone to go to Mars. It's like, because the earth will be fine if we're not here, but it's kind of like, well, why are we going to fix it? Let's just leave. We'll just colonize somewhere else, and then the earth will heal itself.
Reminds me of the Bobiverse.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, shit.
Well, crap.
Yeah.
So I can see it more now, especially with the garbage, because we've made more garbage, because now there was this movement towards zero waste and companies coming out with starting to do compostable plastics and biodegradable plastics and turning to more reusable containers for their things. And now,
we're part of this.
We're part of this too, because I was an avid zero waster for so long. Now it's like, if those apples do not come in plastic, I'm not buying them because I touched them. And the majority of people around here don't wear masks when they're in the grocery store. So our garbage has increased like crazy, and the disposable culture is sort of coming back because of germs.
Yep.
So we're just now creating, and recycling programs have shut down, and
ours luckily has started back up, and I know, and I don't know if it was all of California, but there were places in California where they had outlawed plastic bags. Like you said, they were moving towards that movement, and then all of a sudden they had to stop and reverse that because they're like, yeah, when was the last time you washed your reusable bag? Have you ever washed your reusable bag? And it's like, oh shit, this is not a good deal.
Yeah.
So
my reusable bags, and I miss using them, and I miss using my produce bags, but you're not allowed to use them. And at this point, I'm fine with that. I'm like, I get it. I don't want my stuff to touch the conveyor belt with your stuff, because I don't know where you've been and you don't know where I've been, and we're just all going on the honor system right now.
And I do appreciate the companies that are using the paper bags.
Yes.
We did have one company that I went to that they were using cardboard boxes again, and just well, that way you had those instead of plastic bags. So that was good.
Yeah, and some grocery stores will let you have those plastic boxes to put the groceries in, but even it's few far between. But yeah, so the garbage accumulation seems to be getting a little bit more, and depending on part of the planet that you live in, that could be terrible thing, because it was already pretty bad. And yeah, so we're just going to be Earth in WALL-E, and by and large we'll rule the planet.
hopefully.
I'm not an optimist.
I know, but some more stuff has been coming out where they've been, like you said, doing the biodegradable stuff.
Yeah.
And hopefully we move to that shift where it's like, well, okay, so we can't use the normal plastic bags because they're bad for the earth, but we also can't seem to use all the reusable stuff because some of you folks don't understand how to wash yet. So maybe we need to start looking at the third option. So hopefully that will be a thing.
Hopefully, I don't know if I'm hopeful, that it's the research that goes into different types of plastics still continues, and there's still that movement to find a better solution.
Right.
I'm hopeful. I'm trying to be hopeful. I don't know.
Well, I mean, just remember all of the wonderful plastics that I print here are all made out of PLA, which is all corn based, and it can't sit in super hot places because then it just melts and eventually it goes away. So, yeah, I have to warn people about that. I'm like, don't leave that in a hot car. It will start to. I'm really would kind of like to do my own experiment. I have seriously thought about just printing something and just sitting it out and be like, well, we're about to hit Texas sun. Like literally Friday or Tuesday is supposed to hit like 105. Not heat index. Just 105. And I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I should just print something and just set it outside and just see, because studies have shown like 90 days and it's gone. Like it basically, and I'm sure there are probably some chemicals in there that aren't great, but the majority of it is corn based. So at least it's not oil. It's not like petroleum that's, melting and going, what's that?
I just looked up the conversion, what 105 degrees Fahrenheit is. That's 40.5 degrees Celsius, and that's without the humidex?
Yeah, and then the humidex is probably closer to 50.
Yeah, it's ugly. It's going to be ugly.
It's June. Why is it so hot there?
Because it's Texas.
Oh, welcome to Texas. We had one summer, a couple summers ago, that was like 40 straight days of 100 plus degree. It was ridiculous. Yeah, it was stupid. It was absolutely stupid.
Welcome to Texas, where you can get hypothermia from going inside.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, is my office has been like 69. It's been cold in my office. So I'm surprised, like when you open the door, there's not a front that, like, there's a storm that just generates. So, well, going back to what we were talking about with the viruses and stuff, we already talked about outbreak and like contagion. I wanted to bring up The Stand. Stephen King's, apocalyptic, and that was literally the flu.
Oh, was it? I've never seen it.
See, I haven't watched it. I remember starting watching it, and I just never.
Don't watch it. It's not good. It was a made for TV movie, and it was definitely, like, the special effects are so bad. There's some actually decent actors in it, but it's bad. The book is extremely long, and it all starts off with there's a flu called Captain Trips, I believe is what they called it, and it's relentless, and it rips through everyone, and the only people who survive just had a natural antibody to it, and that's the only reason they survived. Like, once you got it, you were dead within days or hours or something. Wow. And so, I mean, it was a horrific flu that, went through and pretty much killed everyone. But and then afterwards, it's just, these people trying to pick up their lives or whatever, and trying to find other people and so on and so forth. And once again, we're talking about something that is, thousands of times worse than what we're living through now. But it's also one of those things that's just like, if we did run into something like that, seeing how poorly in most places, okay in some places, and actually a couple places actually have done really, really well with it. It's like, man, like, what was it, New Zealand that had like fucking New Zealanders are going to inherit the earth if something happens. So, but yeah, it's one of those things that, like I said, before all this went down, I'm just like, well, okay, it's a Stephen King book. This is what we have to get to the main story. So sure, why not? Killer flu kills everyone, and there's only certain people left. And now it's just like, man, that damn Stephen.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
A little too real there, dude.
yeah, a little too real. By the way, I don't know. Someone posted something or another. He said something or another about the current administration and COVID and comparing it to The Stand. And someone wrote back, not knowing who the fuck he is, and was like, "Have you even read The Stand?" And he's just like, "Really?" You're right. I haven't read it. I wrote it, motherfucker.
That's funny.
So, anyway. But yeah, I wanted to kind of bring up The Stand when we were talking about the virology stuff. So, something else I just want to bring up real quick. So, apocalypse type movies or whatever. So, going back to what I originally said, Mad Max. Everyone's like, in the apocalypse, we're going to be wearing leather. We're going to be wearing, driving these weirded out vehicles and all this other shit. Granted, this is not the apocalypse. We are nowhere near the actual apocalypse.
No.
But the idea of what you're wearing to scavenge for food and supplies definitely is not quite living up to the Mad Max, where, like I said, it's more like the Big Lebowski, because I'm rolling around the grocery store in shorts and a t-shirt and got my mask on, and just trying to stay away from people, trying not to touch anything I don't have to touch, and then I go back to my basically station wagon and go home.
Yeah, I saw somebody and they're like, "Oh, you look all dressed up." I was wearing jeans. Because I was wearing jeans outside.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I was going out. I don't know. It made me feel better to put jeans on.
Oh yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was some of the things I was, wanted to ask people. Granted, we still don't know exactly where we stand with the fall school starting back up. Like, that's still a question mark. But it was one of those things I wanted to ask people. I was like, all right, so what are you going to miss the most as a teacher? Now, granted, a lot of the teachers are genuinely missing their kids. Like, they really want to get back in there and be with their kids. On the other hand, the idea that you get to go pee whenever you want is kind of really nice.
Yeah.
For the ladies, particularly, the fact you don't have to wear a bra or can just wear pajama bottoms or whatever is just like, man, I got to get back into either pants or a skirt or something. That sucks. But yeah, it's just, those questions like, what are you going to miss the most? And for me, it is doing work while having Netflix on.
Yeah.
Because Netflix, I can't get Netflix while I'm at work. I mean, I could run it off my phone, but that eats up a bunch of data. But it's just like, oh, look at me. I'm still doing work and I have Netflix on, which apparently you thought for whatever reason, was going to cause me to basically just sit around and do nothing. So anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, so the whole idea of going, the apocalypse and having to scavenge food and stuff, not quite. Like I said, we're not on that level, but it's definitely not, quote unquote, living up to those expectations.
It's okay, though.
Do what?
She's okay with it not being.
Yeah, I'm okay too. It's hot enough with a mask on. I really don't want to have to be wearing leather everywhere I go.
Yeah, no thanks.
It chafes.
Yeah. I also had down here Planet of the Apes just because.
I planned one of the Planet of the Apes too.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's also like, man, there's no way that could ever sneak up on us. Well, maybe. I mean, it's a really crazy ass idea, but
murder hornets exist, really.
Oh yeah.
So that brings me to I've got kind of a theme between two of them.
Okay.
So, 12 Monkeys and Terminator 2.
Okay.
Is somebody came to you and said, so last year, right? Go back a year ago.
Oh, this is good.
Somebody says to you, next year we're going to have a pandemic. There's going to be murder hornets. Shit's going to hit the fan. There's going to be a recession that you've never seen before. And, just enlist everything that's been happening.
Yep.
You're going to put them in a fucking insane asylum.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's where 12 Monkeys and T2, yeah, both of them were in a sane asylum.
That's a really good point. I mean, I've seen people post like, I don't know if y'all have seen that thing where people have posted like, so I guess everyone loses the whole thing from last year. So where are you going to be a year from now? Or what was like,
Oh yeah, 5 years from now.
5 years from now? I was like, yep, no one got that one right.
No.
Nope.
No.
No, that's a good thought. I didn't even think about that. About someone cut, because I mean seriously, if you did go back and try to tell someone what this year was like, they're just going to be like,
They wouldn't
get the
believe
fuck
you.
out of here.
Believe you.
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Burrow Hornets, yeah, okay.
Oh. Global pandemic, yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah,
I'm gonna go sit down now.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, like SARS, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's. They're
Right.
gonna shut down the NBA and football and hockey and baseball. Yep. Okay. Sure.
Yep.
Nobody in Hollywood is gonna be making movies and.
Yeah. Theaters are gonna be empty. Sure. Do you know what movies are coming out next year?
They'll never
Yeah.
look.
Exactly. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's crazy. Chris, you got anything else?
I had. Let's see what else I got here. Okay, so here's one with the social V for Vendetta. So this is kind of based on French Revolutionary, and I can't remember the guy. No. But anyways, V for Vendetta it's got Natalie Portman in it and Hugo Weaving, and it's a Big Brother is really suppressed the population, and there's just this snippets of you seeing civil unrest of people wanting to rebel and get out from underneath and desperate for change because life is miserable under this regime. And then there's this big, and it starts with one gentleman, and I wish I remembered the last name. It's Guy something, and I can't remember it.
Guy Fawkes.
Thank you. It's France, and it's in France. Anyways, so that and it seems so we haven't really seen a revolution, not like a real true revolution in our collective lifetime.
No.
I mean, we're not old enough to have seen the 60s social revolution. There really hasn't been one.
I remember the wall coming down.
But we weren't there.
We weren't there.
We've never experienced, that's what I'm saying. So
But,
we've never experienced anything like that. We've never been part of anything like that. So watching that, it's just like, there's no way that people accept living like that. There's no way that they would put up with that crap. And turns out that they have been, and now they're done, and this is what's happening, right? People push to the brink, they lash out, not because they want to or that they're delinquent. It's just because they're trying to get your attention.
It goes back to, why can't you just, those memes where it's, why can't you just do it peacefully? And then they show everybody trying to do it peacefully time after time after time, and none of it worked.
Yeah. So what's your only recourse? And it's, Now,
that being said, I will say I'm very thankful that the protests have gone back to being peaceful. So that is good.
Yes.
But, sorry, peaceful on the side of the protesters.
Because now the water
True.
is worth of fencing around it.
Depending on where you're at. So.
Yep.
The one thing I just wanted to throw in there, and this isn't my idea, but I did see someone post something about it. Was I haven't even played these games. Have you ever played the Fallout games?
A little bit. I played a couple of them, but never very far into it.
So after, basically the story is it's way far in the future. Basically Earth is eradicated from nuclear weapons and everything else, and you're living through this hellscape. And I'll never forget when I read this. The guy I can't remember who posted it, but they're like, yeah, well, all the Fallout games are complete total bullshit. There's no way we would stay in bunkers that long. We can't even fucking stay in our house for a month without going crazy. And I'm just like, yeah, dude's got a point. So I saw that, and then I've thought about other things where it's like, everyone has to stay inside because of, a monster or something like that. And I'm just like, yeah, no wonder there are very few people left, because there are not many people that could actually withstand that type of,
All the introverts take over the earth because we're fine at home.
Yep.
And even then, we're just like, even as introverted as we are, we're still like, I still need to get out a little bit. I still want to talk to a few people. Not everyone. I don't want to talk to everyone. I just want to talk to a few people.
Just some select people.
Yeah.
The 12 Monkeys, right? They send Bruce Willis on the top of the earth because they're all living underground.
Yeah.
And he has to go. Yeah, he has to go to the surface to kind of like scavenge for things, and yeah. Anyway. Our cat's going crazy.
Our cat's going bonkers.
That's perfectly fine. I understand about crazy cats. But yeah, it's one of those things that, I always thought that I definitely handled staying home and separated from people better than Christy did. She's definitely more social than I am. The boys have been okay for the most part. I mean, they have missed classmates. Mainly, they miss being able to see their cousins. They have been able to go see their cousins and visit a little bit. For them, the main thing was the idea that when you're home, we're home and we relax. And when you're at school, you're serious and you do work. And now it's like, wait a minute, I got to do serious work at home? What is this shit? So, yeah, the homeschooling for elementary kid, not so bueno. On the other hand, I'm sure there are quite a few middle and high school students that are probably just like, yeah, all right, whatever. I didn't care about anyone there anyway. So I'm just trying to get through this shit.
Well, Quinn has definitely handled it way better than Logan. School sometimes trips him up a little bit because the teacher's not right there to ask the question, and I am a very poor substitute teacher. So trying to get into the habit of, okay, well, message your teacher. She's there.
Right.
So message her. Because I don't know. But Quinn only had like a couple of friends anyways, and he talks to them online, so he's fine. He doesn't need to see people face to face like that. Logan, on the other hand, is like, I'm done. I want to see my friends. I've had enough. I miss school. I miss my freaking teacher. I miss band. She's missed out on a lot because before all this happened, we were in the middle of a teacher's strike. So a lot of extracurricular activities had already been canceled. There were field trips that had already been canceled. The grade 8 grad trip was already threatening to be canceled, and now it is anyway. So she was missing out on a lot anyway. And then I'm more like Quinn, where I'm fine being at home. It is nice to see a couple people. And it's definitely different living in town where we have neighbors. We actually see people anyway because they're just there. But yeah, Logan's having the hardest time being an extrovert and seeing people. So if she actually had to hide in a bunker,
she'd be done.
I think she'd just go. She'd literally go nuts. I don't think that. No, she would not survive that. I don't see her surviving that.
Can I just go next door?
Yeah.
Sure, if you want the monster to kill you.
Yes. She'd probably be like,
I'll be fine.
I'll be fine.
It's worth it.
Yes. Yeah. For her, at a certain point, it would be like, I need to get out of here. It's worth it to risk it, to risk my life to go see other people. Because that's what recharges her.
Yep, and Christy's the same way, because I'm like, just Skype with them or just, Zoom or whatever. And she's like, it's not the same. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It isn't the same. And I'll be very honest with you. One of the main reasons I have been as good as I've been is because we've been playing board games online. That has been huge for me.
Yeah.
I mean, we probably would have gotten online and just chatted regardless, just, got on just to goof off or whatever. But being able to do something at the same time has definitely been good for my mental capability. So,
especially when you screw over the Canadian.
Oh, for heaven's sakes!
I didn't screw you that. Hey, I keep getting screwed over too, so it's all good. We're pretty brutal. I have to say, we're pretty brutal online sometimes.
Yeah. You guys are. There's a lot of.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
Every man's for himself. Every person's for
Jen
himself.
is brutal for that.
Oh, Jen's fucking ruthless.
Yes. So I have a couple more that I just wrote real quick. So Jumanji, we are living in Jumanji right now. Can you finish your damn game?
Yes, because it seems like every week it's we've hit the new level. Something new has come out. Like literally, I mean, that was the meme for a while there. Was like,
You reached 60 in Jumanji.
yeah, it was because we had the COVID going on, and then all of a sudden fucking murder hornets, and it's just like, what?
So I have a feeling that somebody started their game 4 years ago. Just saying.
Oh, jeez.
Just when he won, that's the beginning of like
that's when the game started. Yeah, kind of a little bit.
It was oh shit.
Yeah.
Defied logic. And then for books, I wrote down Hunger Games because I can totally see this current regime saying, "Hey, let's start something up."
Well, okay, so you say that in that whenever everything first started happening, like the states were basically told, yeah, go get your own supplies, go get your own shit. And it's like, wait, what? No, aren't you supposed to be helping us with it? Helping us with that? You're kind of the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, and by the way, we're going to take that shit that you made for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're the capital, so fuck you.
District 1, yeah. Which, by the way, all of the different maps and stuff that I saw had Texas grouped in with like the southern states. I was like, nope, that ain't gonna work. We're our own shit. If you're from Texas, you understand that we are in the South, but we are not in the South. Like Texas is Texas, not that other bullshit. That's one of the reasons why I get so pissed off when I see people. Number one, the Confederate flag pisses me off for multiple reasons. But if I see it being flown with a Texas flag, I'm just like, you're not a real Texan. Where'd you come from? What do you mean? You're not a real Texan. If you're a Texan, you wear the Texas flag, and that's our shit. Like, we're not going back to any of the flags. Yeah, they've flown here, but this is it. So that's just kind of a Texas mentality. We're just, we're different enough. And when I was like, no, we need to be in our own district. Fuck y'all.
District Texas.
Hell yeah. So.
And then the only other one was for video games. I threw down World War Z because there is a video game for it. And yeah, you're running around just trying to collect shit, and there's a bunch of zombies coming after you.
I tried watching that movie, and I just shut it off after 15 minutes because I was like, no, this is just too intense. Too intense.
It's nothing like the books. The books. Number one, one of the reasons I also love the books so much is because it's slow, rambling. The slow. What's his face? Who did Night of the Living Dead? It's his version of zombies. And in the movie, they're fucking running, which I'm just like, nope, that's not a zombie.
Oh, okay. Because the movie was too much. I had to shut it off. I couldn't. It was too. Yeah.
I don't know if you could listen to the book. The book really could be broken into 3 different movies. It's because all it's the premise for the book is, it's Max Brooks. It's Mel Brooks' son. And he's collecting information for after the world zombie apocalypse. And he's supposed to be writing this report, and they tell him, you have to throw out all the emotional stuff. We just need the facts. And he's pissed off about it. And they're like, well, fucking go write a book. You still have all your notes. No one's stopping you. Just go write a book. And this is the book. And it's him sitting down doing interviews with all these people from all over the world, from all walks of life, talking about how everything went to shit.
Yeah.
And like literally it is really scary because some of the thought processes, like it's like I can't even remember which 2 countries it was, because at one point he was like, everyone thinks like Pakistan and their neighbor are the ones, if anyone's going to fire nukes, it's going to be them. And it's like, nope, it's going to be these 2 other countries, because at least they have diplomatic stuff set up between those 2. You're going to have these 2 other little countries, and shit's going to get really bad. A lot of people are going to start dying, and people are going to get scared, and there's not going to be any communication, and they're just going to fucking fire. And then we're going to have not only zombies walking the fucking earth, we're also going to have, nuclear fallout. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And then at some point you do finally have the bright spot where it's like, nope, we can either just keep hiding and let zombies wipe themselves out, or we can take back being the dominant species on this planet. And then this is how we started taking the planet back. And then at that point it gets better, but it gets really fucking dark.
Yeah.
So Anyway,
Isn't that right now?
but it is a fantastic book because the voice actors on it, almost everyone is a superstar voice actor on it. But I mean, it's Max Brooks. I'm sure he went to his dad. He was like, "Hey, Dad, who do you know who would read on this thing?" And it's just like it's an A list of people. You're just gonna like if you go look up everyone who's read on, you're just gonna be like, "Holy shit!" Like,
so it's good as an audiobook then.
Oh my God, the audiobook is fantastic.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to...
Oh, it's probably, I would say it's probably the reading wise, because of the readers, it's probably hands down the best book. Just because of the range of readers, because it's just it's so good. I have to listen to it at least at least once a year or whatever, just because like I said, I know it ends up okay, but it's like I said, it is pretty dark, but just listening to the voice cast is phenomenal. So
cool. Let's check it
out. Well, is there anything else that y'all wanted to bring up?
I think we've covered it for the most part. Like, I'd love for me to, I was trying to think of how to incorporate Star Trek into this, other than the economy going to absolute shit and nothing being worth anything. And then that's when they decide, you know what, money's not worth anything anyway, so money doesn't exist anymore, much like Star Trek. That's the only thing I could see coming out of that. I'd love for that's Gene Roddenberry made a beautiful world.
Yeah, and
I want to live in it.
He does. He's really hopeful. He lives in it.
Yeah, I was funny. I was bringing up to my brother today that on was it Sunday when he launched back up?
Yeah.
I was like, I was telling the kids because the kids were watching it. What's funny was Nicholas is the one that brought up. He goes, "What if something bad happens when it blows up?" I'm like, "Well, guess what, kid? You get the same experience that your parents got." And because I talked about that with Christy. I'm like, yeah, that would be a horrible thing, but we're gonna err on the side of hope, and we're gonna watch it because this is a phenomenal thing, and we watched it. And the kids, had a blast watching it. So, where was I going with this? Oh, that was the fact. And I was like, if you talk to most people at NASA, they're all big Star Trek fans. With science and everything else. I'm like, it's just kind of funny the way that we're getting back to space is based on a guy who's a Star Wars fan and named the rocket after the Falcon. Because that's what the Falcon 9 is named after. It is named after the Millennium Falcon. And every time I tell that to people, they're like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'm serious." So,
well, yeah.
But you know what? It takes both. You had to have both to get it there, and it's all good. Mm-hmm. So, which is another reason you don't have to be a Trek or Wars person. You can be both. So anyway, well, I guess that wraps up our show for the month, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move into our picks and pans. Does anyone want to go first?
Sure.
All right, what you got for us?
So I started, and I'll discuss this more on Creatively Geeky, but I was able to start making my shop.
Yay!
Up so that I can actually make stuff for the house and do other things. So yeah, I'm pretty psyched about that. And then the other thing that I want to try and focus on as well, trying to stay on the positive side of things. So the anti-racist book, I'm about halfway through right now. And I'm thankful that we have the time right now to kind of check ourselves and kind of, educate ourselves on certain things. And so if you get the chance, read that one before we get into it, and then you can join us in the conversation there.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
My pick, I'm going to jump in here real quick. My pick is an old pick. My boys and I finished Star Wars, the Clone Wars. It was phenomenal. It was such a good series. Especially that last season. Well, most of that last season. There were a couple episodes that were kind of off on a sidetrack, and I was like, okay, I understand where they're going here. We're getting some more character development, but the last part of it was just absolutely phenomenal. So we were trying to find something else to watch, so we started watching these old Transformer cartoons. And then I got notice, someone posted it, everyone was super excited, that Avatar: The Last Airbender, the original cartoon series, was coming back to Netflix. And I told my boys, I said, nope, we're dropping everything, and this is what we're watching. And I I remember how much I love this series. My boys are loving watching it as well. If you have never watched Avatar, yes, it is for kids. It was on Nickelodeon. So yes, there is some definitely younger kids humor in it. But this show fucking touches on everything. It touches on sexism, it touches on racism, it touches on being different, it touches on what it means to do the honorable thing, what it means for duty, what it means to, for friendship, for love. It is such a good series. So if you've never watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, watch it. It's great. The people who originally did it are the ones that went on and did the Voltron series that was on Netflix that I also really adored, and have gone on to even do the Dragon Prince, and I freaking adore that as well. If you like that type of storytelling that is very inclusive, very much, there are, like I said, it touches on racism and it touches on nationalism and everything else, and it's just like you see, you see these characters and they're kids and they are growing and they're learning, and it's an excellent way to present all this stuff to kids. And the character of Uncle Iroh may be one of the greatest gifts we've ever gotten, because Uncle Iroh is the shit. So anyway, if you have not watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon series, not that atrocity movie, go watch it. It's absolutely wonderful. So anyway, Chris, what's your pick or pan for the month?
So have a couple of picks, all next Netflix based. So, because what else am I gonna watch? So the Great Canadian Baking Show.
Oh yeah, you fell in love with that.
There's 3 seasons. It's so cute. I really like camaraderie shows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't like shows where people pit themselves against each other. It's I didn't come here to make friends, and everybody's like douchebags and stuff. It's like, oh, like, really? This is what you're doing. Like, how seriously do you need to take it?
Yeah.
So
the bakers actually help.
So the bakers are very supportive and helpful, and the host for the first 2 seasons, Dan Levy is one of the hosts. He's Eugene Levy's son.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah.
For the first 2 seasons, he's a host.
If it's on here in the U.S., Christy may watch it just for him. She adores him.
Yes, the 3rd season they mix it up. I don't know who these people are who host it. I'm shameful they're Canadian, but I don't know who they are. I'm really bad with Canadian celebrities. But anyways, it's a really cute, uplifting show, very positive. Then there's a new docuseries called History 101. Very interesting. Again, it's everything from plastics to
nuclear power
to feminism. Just I think it's like 25 minutes or something like that.
Even they talk about China.
And how did it come to be the global powerhouse that it did,
now,
and how fast it happened, all that stuff. So it's a really great, and it's completely fact-based. Yeah. It's just fact-based.
But they're quick episodes.
Yeah. There's no political leanings on anything. You can tell it's just, here are the facts. This is what happened. There you go.
Except for the nuclear part, they kind of start off a little more political in the way of, is it the fire? Like, are we playing with fire right now that we can't control? So I'm like, oh God, here we go.
Gotcha.
I've been watching, because I've already watched Friends a bajillion times and The Office a lot, and we have Amazon Prime, so I've burned through Parks and Rec twice. So New Girl is on Netflix, all 7 seasons. I haven't watched it since we had cable. And I don't think I missed half of the season. So I'm starting to watch. It's really cute. Zooey Deschanel is this sort of very sweet girl.
I didn't know Damon Wayans' son was in it.
Yeah.
And then
he was only in the pilot episode.
Yeah. And then I was like, where'd he go? So
he comes back.
Does he come back?
He comes back. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah. So that's what I've been watching. And then here, thrift stores and the Restore, which is Habitat for Humanity store, have opened up, obviously with restrictions and stuff, which I'm all for. So I'm happy about that, because we have some donations here that we would like to donate. And now we can do that. We've been kind of hoarding them, and they moved with us. So it'd be nice to give them to people who need
Gotcha.
them. And also I did some thrift shopping. So I found Ray a skill saw. Is that a skill saw? Or
Scroll saw.
Scroll saw.
Yep.
I almost got it right. For $40.
Nice.
Restore. And I found Logan a lamp, an owl lamp that she has named Harold, for her room.
Yeah.
I'm happy about that. Because we need furniture. We don't have any.
Nope.
Still waiting on a tour of the house.
Oh, yeah, we should.
We can do that after.
Yeah.
Nope.
No? Oh, what do you want? What do you mean?
I want this to be an event. I want to schedule it sometime, which is of course for y'all, but we need to make it so that Jen can watch and Lainey can watch and Christy can watch, because everyone's going to want to see it. So I think it needs to be an event.
Okay.
We'll do a game night.
Cool.
It's so nice in the day, though. It's so
Well,
pretty.
I know, but we'll do a game day.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna go outside, so
There you go. You'll burst into flames to go outside.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Good deal. Well, that is it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. If you would please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, Google, Stitcher, wherever it is you find the show. You can find it pretty much anywhere that you can find podcasts. As always, you can find us at Epically Geeky, the actual website. There are links to the Etsy stores and the shows and everything else that's going on. Let's see, you can find us at Epically Geeky on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. Where can we find you online, Ray?
You can find The Reluctant Yeti, and that's on Instagram, on Twitter. I don't tweet very often, but I try to once in a while. Instagram, I'm going to start, now that things are happening here, I'm going to start posting stuff again. Now that we're starting to kind of settle down and got into a bit of a routine here. And then, routine. And then we got to figure out our next procrastinators show, because
I love that you guys have lived up to the name. This
I know, right?
It makes me happy that
So,
we're the procrastinators. We've done 2 episods.
We've
done 3.
Three.
Yeah.
My bad. 3.
In 7 months.
7 months.
I love it.
So, you can find me there. You can find me on this one, Epically Geeky, Marginally Geeky, when you guys aren't running ahead of me on books. Creatively Geeky, where we get to, look forward to a couple more things. And, just kind of out there.
Good deal. Chris, where can we find you?
You can find me here on Epically Geeky, Marginally Geeky, Creatively Geeky, and Sustainably Geeky. And we just did an episode on Wednesday, and it's about zero waste, because Zero Waste July is coming up. And we have somebody on. She's from Germany. She's lived in Texas for the last 3 years. Her name is Linda, and she has her own home-based zero waste business. So it was really interesting to talk to somebody who's come from Europe, which has got a very different outlook on garbage and recycling, to come to Texas and deal with all of that and how different the systems are. So, and
Good deal.
I'll be in a couple weeks.
Yep.
And Instagram at the Borough Life. So I do most of the house updates. I take most pictures and do story updates and stuff. I'm more on it than he is.
And as always, you can find my individual wacky adventure online at Optimachine on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For everyone on the site, have a good night.